Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Hey, you guys. How is everyone doing today? Big Sunday. Tomorrow's Monday, but it's Sunday. So let's celebrate the fact that it's Sunday before we worry about Monday coming up. Just try to get some good sleep tonight. It'll make it worth it. Hey there, Wicked, Wild, and Wise. How you doing? Hey there, Elizabeth. How are you? Welcome, Mickey McMo. Thank you for joining. Hey there, Hillary. Hey, WB. Hey, Jen. Hey there, MV. Okay, I'll show you. So, actually, I'll describe it while I get this email up, all right? So, the Paramount Live from the other night. I had a feeling that they would do this, which is the reason why whenever I do reviews on Paramount, on Hulu, on Netflix, anything that has anything to do with something like that, even if it's on YouTube, I still try to do this differently. I decided not to this time to see what would happen because it's on YouTube. So they should have to follow the exact same guidelines that everyone else does, right? When it comes to fair use, when it comes to commentary, when it comes to reactionary content, they should have to follow the rules, okay? They're lucky that I have better things to do with my life. Because I probably could take this to court if I really wanted to. Because whatever they're trying to say is bullshit. And it seems like they're allowing Paramount to make the decision instead of YouTube making the decision by YouTube following their guidelines and telling Paramount, well, if you don't want your shit reacted to this way, get it off of YouTube, right? I'm going to show you guys the email. So within 30 minutes of the live going the other day, it was blocked globally. It would not allow it to be seen literally anywhere. So then I put in a dispute and I said basically that I stopped every few minutes, every few seconds, really. I ran my mouth the whole time. The damn thing was like 3.5 hours long and the video itself was only 50 something. Obviously, I'm not just playing this stupid video. I'm running my mouth the whole time. On top of that, we diverted from the video a couple times to look up articles and look up other videos and other things that was being discussed in the chat, okay? Let me show you what they did. I showed the other day in the live that they globally struck it to where it was a copyright strike and they stopped it from being viewed. In the middle of the night for no reason. They allowed it to be viewed publicly. But then they still said that it wasn't allowed to be monetized, but that the copyright issue had nothing to do with the reason why it couldn't be monetized, which make that shit make sense because that's the only thing that you have wrong with my video. So if that's not the reason why it can't be monetized, then what the shit is the reason? Make that make sense. I got this one about 45 minutes ago, I guess. What time was this one? 54 minutes ago. I had my numbers backwards. After they allowed it to be viewed publicly, globally, okay? They blocked it globally. 2 days later, they allowed it to be publicly viewed, but it wasn't allowed to be monetized. On a big old Sunday, Paramount decided that their copyright claim is valid. Why does Paramount? This is just as pathetic as a situation with my ex whenever it came to us being in court in person or being able to be on Zoom for our protection because he's insane and he deals with a bunch of drug addicts are just as stupid and desperate as he is to do stupid shit for money or, you know, whatever they end up doing. This is just as pathetic as this. They allowed him to control that narrative, not giving a shit about the actual rules and safety for victims and all the things. They allowed Paramount to make this decision instead of a human with YouTube going in, checking it and being like, nah, bro, this is commentary and y'all really can't do shit about it. They allowed the big conglomerate to win this case. So they technically set like a precedent with the way that people can go in and do reactionary content here on YouTube. They know damn well that everything that I did in that video was reactionary content and falls under those guidelines. They can come at me with some actual facts because this isn't facts. All it says is that they disagreed with my dispute. Of course they're going to disagree with me. They're Paramount, and YouTube is allowing them to make the decision. Why is YouTube allowing them to make the decision? Shouldn't YouTube be the one making that decision? Because it's YouTube's rules. Okay, So whenever we talk about the one that just came out on Hulu, we're going to do it the way that I've been having to do things. I'm going to go live. I'm going to be watching it off of the screen because it's not going to allow me to show anything, just like I knew it wouldn't. And I'm just going to be running my mouth as it plays. Every now and then, if it shows something, I can like flash it on the screen really quick. I've been able to do that before. What I don't really quite understand is why it let me go on with the live to begin with, because I've seen a lot of lives where with those get like instantly struck while they're live and the whole thing just gets shut down. So why they allowed the whole thing for 3.5 hours to go on, I don't understand it. But they just showed like how pathetic they are. So I've canceled my Paramount subscription. If something comes up, I'll make a fake account, get a free trial, and then close it out. They're never going to get another damn dime from me. It takes 2 seconds to create another email. 2 seconds to create another phone number. I'm not playing this game. They've completely pissed me off. So that's why it's gone. Because they allowed it to play publicly for a couple of days, and now they've decided to just snatch it all the way away. And instead of just being like, oh, you can't monetize this and just let it play, because what good is it? If I'm not making a dime off of it, then what does it matter? Other than the fact that I'm debunking all of their lies. Other than the fact that I'm like, okay, Paramount effed up this, and Paramount effed up that, and Paramount effed up that. So what I'm going to do is clip the bitch. I'm going to clip it. I'm going to go in and clip every time that I stopped and I said something about what they did wrong. I'm going to put a big black box over the screen itself. And I'm just going to let my mouth run. Because they can't strike that. And it still puts the facts up that they're freaking wrong about like 90% of the crap that they put out there. Which is insane to me that they've had the chance to go in and correct some things. And they're still choosing to allow the false information to be their new episode. That's the only reason why they did all that, because I'm proving them wrong. Which honestly, I kind of figured. But that's where it's at. Now, when it comes to this one, I logged in this morning. It's like an hour and 20 minutes long. So what we'll probably do is go live tonight. We'll finish these documents tomorrow, because after this last like full on set of 20, we're only going to have, I think, like 7 or 8 documents left. So what I'll do is I'll go live tomorrow with those like last 7 or 8 documents. But tonight, after dinner and I get the boys settled in with whatever they're doing, we'll go live and I'll watch the Hulu episode and do a live reactionary thing to it the way that I have to now, because these companies just keep on being able to do whatever they want to. So that's what we're going to do. That's the plan anyway. That's the plan. I know that some people are talking about some crazy stuff that they think that they heard Dylan say. So we'll see. We'll see if I hear the same stuff whenever we listen to it later. Well, whenever I listen to it on camera later. And we'll see what happens. It wouldn't surprise me if there's some extra stuff in there coming out of their faces. Every single time they talk, it seems that they're just like... It changes every time they say anything. I just don't really quite understand that. Yeah, see, if she actually says that she saw blood, that'll actually make more sense, considering the fact that her leg, like Xana's legs, were completely covered. So for Dylan to A, say that she saw her, and B, to have seen anything red on her would make more sense, because we know that it wasn't really dark in that house. It might have been dark in Xana's room, but obviously there was enough light going in to where, well, I don't know, maybe Xana's light wasn't even off. Have we even like asked about that? Like, I know that we've discussed the house itself. And we know that they had those little like fairy lights and Christmassy light looking things like strewn all over the place. But do we know if Xana's light was actually on or off? We really don't. We honestly don't. So if her light was off and she still saw Xana on the floor, then I still have questions, because how can you see down that hallway all the way with like a Scentsy light? I don't see how. So if the light was on and you saw that she was on the ground, then you obviously saw the red stuff all over her legs. So there's that. But the basis for that is Home Chick saw her friend on the floor, thought she was overdosed on alcohol, thought that she drank too much and passed out, and still left her on the ground for 8 hours. So regardless of how anybody wants to look at it, Dylan's a piece of shit. Change my mind. You can't, because it's already happened. Her behavior's already out there. That's my point right there. They knew that shit was going crazy, and they didn't do anything about it collectively together, which tells me that there's something else going on here. Something else going on here. Whenever two people that are raised completely differently both decide, after hearing things going on and apparently both being little bitty babies and usually crying for help and, oh my God, I heard something. And they actually hear something and they decide not to. Collectively, together. I have a problem with that. And I don't understand people who don't have a problem with that. That part too, no matter who's guilty and who's not guilty, the fact of the way this case was handled should make every American concerned and pissed off, in my opinion. Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand. The way that this system works is shit. Whoever wrote these rules needs to lose their job. The entire justice system needs to be restructured. All of it. All of it. Exactly my point, Jolynn. Even if she literally only thought in her head that Xana was passed out from drinking too much, you just leave her on the ground. You don't make sure she's freaking breathing, that she hasn't actually died from drinking too much. You know, obviously, that there's other substances being used on top of alcohol. So given the fact that Dylan would know that, okay, given the fact that Dylan would know that, she still is admitting to have seen her friend on the ground and not doing a damn thing for 8 hours, even after they check the snap maps to make sure that, yeah, that's actually them at home. Even after calling the phones and not getting any answers. You left your friend for dead then and there, regardless of if you knew that there was anything further than, oh, she might have drank too much alcohol and now she passed the frick out on the ground. You're a loser. Who needs any kind of enemies whenever you've got somebody like Dylan walking around the planet, okay? No, she's a horrible human. That word. Selfish. Selfish. And apparently being a selfish ass loser gets you over $100,000 on GoFundMe, which I'll never freaking understand. But I'm fine being broke because I refuse to be a piece of shit human like that. Damn. What? Second I would have seen anybody on the ground, I'm running into that room, checking a pulse, calling for help, trying to wake you up. What? Even if I know that I can't really do much else besides get help, I'm going to get help. So yeah, I am interested to see if there's anything else being said. Hey there, Chemistry Queen. How you doing? She's an OG. She's the first member on this entire channel. She's the OG member of the channel. You know what? Can you send me, if you're comfortable, send me your address. I really like to send you a t-shirt because you are literally like the first member of this channel and you've been here since day one. I'd really like to send you something. So if you're comfortable, please email me whatever address you want me to send you a shirt to with your size. And I want to send you a t-shirt. Or a cup, or a hat, whichever one. But I want to send you something because you're like the OG member. See, and I don't understand how, with the way that the Idaho laws work, there isn't some sort of civil suit that could happen. I mean, even if you want to sit here and pretend like Bethany is just like this innocent bystander, which no, she ain't. No, she ain't. How come nobody's going after Dylan? I don't really quite understand that. I really just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. I do that with some people. I'm like, I just know I know it's going to be great. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. She was in the police car, seemed stoned, and said, I've got to go to court about Bryan and the freaking sorority girls. Oh, you're talking about Molly. Yeah, that's a whole thing too. We need to get everything about Molly all put together, like all of it, because the report says she didn't see a damn thing. So how many times did you like get told that this happened? Or how many times did you have a meeting with Payne or Thompson, your little best buddy, to then flip your story? Or are you only like saying this shit because you're trying to get out of getting in trouble for being a loser? Serious question. Serious question. People are, and people can try to like take up for Molly all the hell they want to. This kind of situation doesn't end up the way that it ends up because you're some sort of innocent bystander either. Either you're like a complete loser or you've got something to gain from this in other ways because your report says you didn't see shit. Now you're on body cam claiming, oh yeah, I parked right next to him. Oh my God, I got to testify. You're a liar. You're a snitch. You're a CI. You're a paid two-faced loser. Stay the frick out of Washington and Idaho if you want to be so serious, which is wild because my dad and my sister went like whale watching or whatever in Washington and they absolutely like around that area and they loved it. And I'm like, can't relate. I'll never step foot. Never step foot. Hey there, Cammie. Never, ever step foot in either place. I don't give a damn. It's just not happening. Hey there, Marie. Hey there, Bella. Hey, Ruby. Hey, so much corruption. Hey, you. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Any football today? I have no idea. I don't pay attention to football. I know lots of times you guys are talking about how there's some football stuff going on. Okay. We're going to go ahead and read these documents. We're going to do 20, the way that we've been doing 20 at a time. And again, we only have like one live left before these are completely finished. And it's not even going to be a full 20. It's going to be, I think, like 7 or 8 at the very end of this. Let me get all this stuff situated so y'all can see everything. Get me out of the way so that the print is bigger. Not newly unsealed. Idaho State Police. Okay. So yeah, we're going to get through these. Then we'll get off of here for a couple hours, and I'll go ahead and set up the live to where we're going to do. Hey, baby. There's my Ariels. I love you too. And then we're going to go live later to go over the crazy stuff. Oh, that's how your daughter's screaming at the TV, so that's how you know the football's on. That's hilarious. That's funny. Okay, let's start reading these and see what other information we're going to find, because so far it's been real interesting. And again, I find it really interesting. Bethany is the only one so far that has mentioned a damn thing about maybe Kaylee changed her mind. I'm really curious as to if that was something that was just like said like drunkenly, because maybe it was like coming to her realization that she's like turning into an adult now and she's about to leave everything behind and go start this journey. And maybe she was just like feeling a little bit cold feetish, or if this was something that Kaylee was actively trying to reverse. Because it's, again, interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. I haven't seen anything in these reports, in the Moscow reports. No one else has said a word. But then again, we haven't read all the reports. So maybe there's something else in here. Let's find out. All right, this is number 176. Hello to everyone who is in here that I haven't said hello to yet. I appreciate y'all all spending some time with me here on Sunday. Let's go ahead and get started with these, though. Number 176. This is from Michael Van Leuven. We've seen a lot from him in these latter parts of these reports. Interviewed somebody with the year of birth 1982 regarding her concern that the blank with a year of birth 1970 at the apartment complex she lived in could be responsible for the homicides. So this only has Maddie and Kaylee as the two victims that they're stating this like could be about. I don't know why they do that, because it's technically about all of them, but okay. This is a 40-year-old female discussing a 52-year-old male. The apartment complex is known as the blank and was located off of blank. Blank advised blank told her he knew the victims, Kaylee and Maddie. Okay, well, that would explain it. Okay, directly. Blank said blank's wife worked as a blank. Okay. Blank said she saw that blank had a bandage on his right hand and told her he cut it during a woodworking accident. This interview was audio recorded. See, I can't stand that they like blank out the relation, because is this like, do you work as a waitress at the restaurant or do you work like at the school doing something? I mean, I understand why they want to keep a lot of people's information private like that, but if you want us to understand the connection for why this person's like saying anything, it'd be nice to have a little bit more context. On December 2nd, 2022, Detective Alderson and I contacted blank at his office at the apartment complex. His office at the apartment complex. So does he work there at the apartments? Despite being considered a person of interest in a homicide investigation, blank was cooperative and friendly throughout our interview. Then you should have probably been a little concerned. Because I'm sorry, if I'm completely innocent of something and you come at me crazy, I'm not going to be nice to you. I'm going to tell you that you're out of your freaking mind. And I'm going to be really defensive, because how dare you? How dare you? Blank told us he had an accident with a table saw on November 9th or November 16th and had been treated at blank. Broski, that's a whole week difference. What do you mean the 9th or the 16th? And that's really specific dates to not know these actual specific date that you had an injury. Okay. had been treated at blank in Moscow. Blank's wife later called and confirmed the date was November 16th. Blank said he would sign a release of medical records if we wanted. Blank confirmed that his wife blank at one of the sororities on campus. He said he heard of Xana, Kernodle, and Maddie Mogen, but had not met them. So now he brings in Xana whenever it was previously about Kaylee and Maddie. Okay. For alibi purposes, Blank said at the time of the homicides, he was asleep at his house located at blank in Moscow. He showed me pictures on his phone of security footage on the night of the homicide showing his vehicle parked in the driveway of his house from 12:11 to 6:57 on November 13th. I took a photograph of his phone showing this image. I asked to see his wound. He showed me his left index finger. The wound was consistent with an injury from a table saw, as there was evidence of the kerf of the blade removing flesh from his finger. Eek. I took photographs of Blank and his finger. I asked Blank for a DNA sample. Blank consented to give a sample, which I took with the swab. I transferred the swabs to the Moscow Police Department. The interview was recorded and later placed, as well as Blank's interview recording, on a disc along with the photographs I had taken, and everything was transferred to Moscow. Okay. You still have to wonder, like, who this is, though, because apparently whoever was stalking them was, like, in that apartment complex towards the back, according to, like, all of the logistics so far. So I wish that they would give a little bit more information on at least the location, but I can understand why they're not. Like, I get it, but it's still annoying. Number 177, we have Michael Van Leuven again. Interviewed somebody with the year of birth 2001 via telephone regarding blank members who were close with victim Kaylee. I subsequently interviewed blank members for victimology purposes. So this is two different people. Okay, it has everyone's names on it this time. 21-year-old female, 20-year-old female, 21-year-old female. Homicide victim Kaylee Goncalves was a member of the blank sorority. The purpose of this interview with blank was for her to go through the blank member roster and identify members that were particularly close with Goncalves for the purposes of conducting subsequent victimology interviews. We asked for former roommates, fellow pledge class members, big and little sisters, etc. We had been provided a member roster list from the university. Actually, the number 175 that we ended the last live about these over, like, with that document, was about this roster and it being, like, cut down a little bit by somebody over at the sorority. So I guess this is just coming from that portion of it. On 12/6/2022, Detective Alderson and I interviewed blank with year of birth 2002 at the Moscow Police Department for victimology purposes related to her relationship with Goncalves. Blank was a former roommate as well as fellow pledge class member with Goncalves. Blank had also known victims Xana, Ethan, and Maddie. On December 7, 2022, FBI Special Agent Mark, here's that name again, Zahakuski, I don't freaking know, and I interviewed blank with year of birth 2001 at the Idaho State Police District 1 office in Coeur d'Alene for victimology purposes related to her relationship with Goncalves. Blank was a former roommate as well as fellow pledge class member with Goncalves. Blank had also known Xana and Maddie, and these interviews were recorded and transferred. There's really nothing in here. This is just being like, yeah, we talked to a few people, but they're not really saying at all what was said. It's just saying, yeah, we interviewed this person, but they're not giving any specifics. What's the point of the report? Okay. Number 178, Van Leuven again. Now we're going back to November 30th, 2022. So we were just on, like, December 6th, I think, and now we're jumping back. And now this has to do with the fraternity. Interviewed, this obviously says Sigma Chi fraternity, and then a bunch of people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different individuals. A 21-year-old, 21-year-old, 20-year-old, 20-year-old, 18, 21, 21, 22, 22, 20. Okay. Homicide victim Ethan Chapin was a member of the Sigma Chi. I don't know why they feel the need to do this. I really just don't understand it. Like, come on. Sigma Chi fraternity. The purposes of this interview with blank was for him to go through the blank member roster and identify members that were particularly close with Chapin for the purposes of conducting subsequent victimology interviews. So the same thing they asked the sorority to do, they're not asking the fraternity to do. We asked for former roommates, fellow pledge class members, big and little brothers, etc. We had been provided a member roster list from the university. But shouldn't they also be asking the girls for big and little brothers and the boys for big and little sisters? Because we obviously already heard that before Ethan and Xana started dating, that she was like his big, even though they're boy and girl. And to me, I thought that it had to be like specific to like the Greek family you're related to. Like you're Sigma Chi, then you're only Sigma Chi and you're only dealing with dudes. If you're in one of the girls, the sororities, you're only dealing with chicks. Apparently that's not the case. So it feels like both sides are kind of like missing something here. I subsequently interviewed blank members, all these redactions, for victimology purposes. On December 1st, 2022, Detective Alderson and I interviewed blank with year birth 2001 at his apartment. And it just says like all these interviews were done. Why did you wait 2 weeks? See this right here? December 1st, they interviewed this one person. This is maybe Hunter, but I doubt they'd wait that long to interview Hunter. But then they waited 2 weeks before they entered anyone else again. Interesting and probably completely unnecessary, because all of these right here look like they took place at the exact same place. Then we have another one that took place at Moscow Police Department, another one at the police department. This one took place at this person's apartment, and then this one took place at the Coeur d'Alene office for ISP. Why are you waiting so long? With the exception of blank, these interviews were audio recorded. I later placed these recordings on a disc and will transfer the disc to Moscow Police Department. On December 13th, 2022, blank gave me an odd letter that had been sent to the blank house from a blank from Winchester, Idaho. I will transfer this. What is this letter? What the frick is this? And why is there like no details? There's details for like all the other people that did interviews, but with these, they're not giving any details at all. Okay. Number 179, Michael Van Leuven again. I'm just going to call this guy FBI Special Agent Z, because that name, I just really just can't, because every time I say it, I swear I say it differently, but that's fine. So SAZ and Van Leuven interviewed somebody with the year of birth 2001 at the Idaho State Police District office in Coeur d'Alene. Blank was known to us as homicide victim Maddie Mogen's ex-boyfriend. So I don't know of any names of exes when it comes to Maddie. All I knew about was Jake. Because we knew that it took a while for Jake to like win her over, according to everything that we've kind of heard. And then once he did, she was like smitten. You know what I mean? There was like one kiss that apparently happened with somebody else on vacation, but that wouldn't technically be an ex-boyfriend. So I'm not really I'm not sure who this is. I'm not sure who this is. So 21-year-old male. Okay. And then this, I guess the ex-boyfriend is a 22-year-old. Maybe not. They have a suspect that's a 21-year-old male. Then they talk about Maddie, and then they have this person being 22. That's really kind of confusing the way they have that on there. That's really confusing. Okay. As an ex-boyfriend of one of the victims, blank was considered a person of interest in the investigation. I called blank and asked him to come into the office for an interview. Blank agreed and came directly. This call was audio recorded. During the course of our interview, blank was completely cooperative and friendly throughout. The interview was audio recorded. Okay, so the call and the interview was recorded. Blank agreed to provide a DNA sample, which I took using swabs. Blank also consented to have his phone downloaded for us to review its contents. This was done during the course of the interview. Blank's telephone number was blank. Blank signed a consent form for his phone to be searched. I later transferred the swabs as well as the phone download to the Moscow Police Department. I scanned the consent form and will place the scan on a disk containing the audio recordings of the interview with blank, as well as the recording of the call asking him to come into the office for the interview. I will transfer the disk to the custody of Moscow Police Department, as well as the original signed consent form. I examined blank's arms and hands and did not observe any marks or cuts. I took photographs of his arms and hands and placed those on the disk containing the audio recordings. Blank said at the time that the homicides occurred, he was sleeping at his residence located at blank in Coeur d'Alene. Blank said he had a roommate named blank with year of birth 2000. He said blank's telephone number was blank. Blank said he did not remember whether his roommate was at the apartment that night. Blank said he worked blank. He had worked blank. At blank or just, okay, worked blank on November 12th in Coeur d'Alene. He said he went to lunch with his family and roommates at blank in Coeur d'Alene the next day. He said blank was the first person to tell him about the homicides. He was unclear what had happened at first because some people were saying they had OD'd and others were saying they had been with a knife, basically. He texted with his friend blank, who had known blank and Kaylee, asking about what had happened. Who's this right here? Maybe Jack and Kaylee? Blank said it had happened and it was real. Blank said it felt surreal. Blank said he would have no idea, no clue who would have committed the homicides. He gave biographical information and victimology information, and then obviously the recordings were saved. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Now we have number 180, Michael Van Leuven again. Beginning on December 6th, Idaho State Police Detective Sergeant Michael Van Leuven contacted hospitals and medical clinics that provided service for Moscow, Idaho, and the surrounding areas to inquire about any patients treated for wounds in the days following the homicides. Beginning on December 6th, okay, that's basically the exact same thing. Okay, I contacted the following providers in Lewiston, Idaho, and Clarkston, Washington area. St. Joseph Tri-State Clearwater Medical Clinic and Valley Medical Clinic all reported no treatment consistent with knife wounds. I contacted the following providers in the Coeur d'Alene area: Kootenai Health, Prairie Clinic, and Northwest Family Medicine. Kootenai Health responded with a list of patients treated for possible knife wounds. I have placed this list on a disc and will transfer it to the Moscow Police Department. I contacted the following providers in the Spokane, Washington area: Daconis Hospital, Holy Family, Providence Urgent Care. All reported no treatment consistent with knife wounds. Okay, this is stupid. I'm sorry, but the person who's like doing all the bad stuff isn't going to have stabby wounds. They're going to have opposite wounds. They're going to have scratches. They're going to have punches. They're going to have other injuries. So to me, this kind of like seems like it's a waste of time. Like if the damn knife slipped, then I can see maybe there'd be wounds like in like this part of the hand, maybe. But everything else, like you're not going to have stabby wounds if you're doing the stabby stuff. You know what I mean? I feel like this is like a waste. Okay. I found it odd that Kootenai Health provided a list of 77 patients treated for sharp object laceration puncture wounds, while all the other providers advised treating no wounds consistent with what they were looking for. I mean, that is a little crazy. Was there just like, what? 77? But all the rest of the hospitals were like, yeah, it's been real dry, bro. That doesn't make sense. That don't make no sense. Okay. Number 181, Michael Van Leuven again. Him and FBI Special Agent Z interviewed someone with a year birth of 2000 regarding his presence in Moscow on the weekend of the homicides, as well as his relationships with some of the victims. Notice the only name not on here for that is Ethan's. Who is you? 22-year-old male. But there's also like other people listed right here. Oh my gosh, somebody in Dallas? Who is this? Okay, so ISP talked to this person on December 4th. He said he was in Dallas, Texas, and would be back to Coeur d'Alene the following Tuesday when he would come in for an interview. Blank called back on 12/6/2022 and agreed to come in the following day for the interview. So he went in on 12/7. This person was interviewed regarding his presence in Moscow on the weekend of the homicides, as well as his relationships with some of the victims. This was both an elimination interview as well as a victimology interview. Blank was completely cooperative and friendly throughout the process. Who is this? Who this be? Blank consented to give a DNA sample, which I took using swabs. I later transferred those swabs to the Moscow Police Department. Blank also consented to download his phone for forensic examination. This was done while the interview was conducted. This phone number was blank. A copy of his download was provided to MPD. I have scanned the consent form and placed a scan on a disk while being transferred to MPD. Blank's name had come through tip number 5594. So somebody already called him in and was like, something's weird. Okay. The information in this tip alleged that Blank resides in Coeur d'Alene and frequently visited Moscow, where he stays in a travel trailer. The tip further alleges that Blank is acquainted with victims Kaylee and Maddie and had pressured them to join him at his trailer on the night before the murders, but they refused. Didn't we hear something about a trailer already? And like some guy was in there and got like escorted out because he was being a loser. Was that in these documents or in Moscow's documents? But I remember something about a travel trailer already. That's why that indexing of mine needs to get finished, because that way we can reference that. Interesting. This person apparently pressured them to join him at his trailer the night before, and they refused. The tip further alleges University of Idaho student Blank had refused Blank's advances over Labor Day weekend, and that Blank had become violent and threw a vape at her. Blank said he lives in Coeur d'Alene and works at the blank in the blank. Oh, there that is. Blank said he works for the blank in the blank department. Blank said he traveled to Moscow for the November 12th, 13th weekend. He said he had traveled to Moscow for the purpose of attending the University of Idaho football game in which his friend Blank played for the Vandals. Blank advised he had traveled to the game with Blank's parents, who pulled their travel trailer for the game. Blank said he knew Goncalves, Mogen, and Xana from Blank. Blank said he, Goncalves, and Mogen all attended Blank together, and Kernodle had attended school in Post Falls. Blank related that he had several friends that were students at the University of Idaho. Blank said that he had talked to Goncalves, but they had never dated. He said Goncalves and Mogen mostly stuck to their own friend group. I wonder if there's communication between him and the girls that night that like proves that he had asked them or tried to get them to go over there. Blank said he had Snapchatted Mogen. Okay, there it is right there. I need to just like stop like asking questions and just actually read the damn document. Blank said he had Snapchatted Mogen to see if they wanted to hang out. Mogen said they were going to a Greek party. Blank said he and his friends could not go because they were not Greek. Okay, so if this was the 12th, then this is the Sigma Chi party that Mogen went to for all of like, I don't know, maybe just a few minutes, maybe an hour. We don't really know how long she was over there. We just know that she was part of the group that Ethan apparently, according to now Bethany's testimony, which is different than what we've heard before, walked them over there while Kaylee stayed at home with one of their other friends. Mogen then walked back carrying White Claws, and then they contacted Eric Gower and the three girls took off. Blank said his friend Blank lived in the blank in Moscow, and that after the game, he had hung out with the Blank trailer hung out at the Blank trailer for a while, and then had gone to Blank's apartment. Blank said he ended up going to an off-campus party at a house northeast of the Blank apartments. It's probably the White apartments, probably, that he referred to as a golf party because University of Idaho golf players lived there. Do all the golfers live together? Probably, honestly. He said most of the people that were at this party were student athletes from U of I. Blank said immediately after the game, they had hung out at Blank's parents' trailer. After that, at approximately 8 or 9 p.m., they left to go to the golf house party. Blank said he estimated 50 to 100 people were present at that party. There's a huge difference between 50 and 100, though. Like, it's definitely something noticeable. I'm just saying. Blank said he stayed at that party for approximately 4 hours and then went back to Blank's apartment between 1 and 2 a.m. Blank said Blank had a friend who was a female Blank named Blank who had an apartment near Blank. What do you mean? Why can't we see this? A female what? A female what? Blank said he, Blank, and some other friends went to Blank's apartment and hung out there. Blank said that he ended up sleeping at Blank's apartment that night. Blank said a couple of other girls had shown up at Blank's apartment that night, but he did not know their names. Blank said he never went to the house where the homicides occurred and had no additional contact with the girls that night. Blank said he tried calling Mogen the next day. Blank filled out a victim background questionnaire. I scanned this and placed it on a disk. The original will be transferred to MPD. Blank provided additional victimology information, and of course, everything was transferred over to MPD. So he's just somebody who knew them that was like, hey, I'm in town. You want to hang out? And they were just like, we're at a Greek party. You can't come. And that was it. It wasn't anything about pressuring them or coaxing them, apparently. It was just like, hey, yeah, sorry, we can't. See why context is important? There was no pressuring, according to everything that we just read. Okay. So now we're on number 182. Michael Van Leuven again. They're interviewing nope, that's Xana's. They're interviewing a 21-year-old white male. Blake consented to giving a DNA sample, which I took with swabs. I later transferred these to MPD. Blank traveled with friends to Moscow for a football game on November 12th or 13th weekend. Blank said he knew victim Xana from Blank, but had no contact with her for a year or two. Blank said he didn't know any of the other victims and had never been to the house where the homicides occurred. Special Agent Z led this interview. See the report for more. Audio recorded interview, and it was transferred. Yeah, that's it. So just somebody else, somebody different that traveled for the game. Okay. Number 183, Van Leuven again. And this is somebody with year of birth 2001, so 21 at the time. Blank had been a friend with Xana since Blank. Probably somebody that she went to school with, I bet. On December 9th, 2022 is whenever this took place at the District 1 office. Okay, so they've been Blank since Blank. Blank described his relationship with Kernodle as being in his friend group and not one that was romantic. He said the last time he saw Kernodle was at a Halloween party hosted by the Blank fraternity at the house down the hill from the fraternity known as Fratlantis. I don't think I've heard that term before. Okay. Blank said he had not had any contact with Kernodle since that party. He met Ethan Chapin at that party. He said Ethan seemed like a very friendly guy. He said he didn't know Kaylee or Maddie, but thought he might have met Mogen at the party. The Halloween party. We do know that they were together at that party. Okay. Or at least one party. There's probably several different parties on Halloween, honestly. Blank gave additional victimology-related information about Kernodle. Interview was recorded, placed on a disc, and given to MPD. Okay, so now we have number 184. Jeffrey Talbot. He's the lead for ISP. Defense processing? On November 13th. Okay, so here we go. Defense processing taken place on February 6, 2023. All right. Detective Talbot was assigned as a lead crime scene investigator on January 27th, 2023 at the request of Defense Counsel Kootenai County Chief Public Defender Ann Taylor. Matt Nodal collected multiple items from the residence. I was present during this collection. You're going to give us details? Items Nodal collected including clothing from the laundry room, swabs of various stains from throughout the residence, wall sections, and flooring from Kernodle and Mogen's rooms containing various stains. I photographed the items he collected. What I don't understand is why it's the defense team going in and taking the pieces of floor in the wall that had the blood on it, whenever that should have been the first thing that forensics did. In general. Nodal completed his processing at about 4:45 p.m. and left the scene. On February 6, 2023, I completed a final walkthrough video of the residence. MPD was provided copies. I just don't understand why the defense is the one that had to do that. I feel like that's kind of ignorant. Okay. Number 185, Jeffrey Talbot. On March 9th, 2023, I processed Kohberger's 2015 Hyundai Elantra for additional evidence at the MPD evidence garage. All items collected were turned over to MPD. Is this where we're going to find out about the supplements? Because for some reason they talked a lot about the supplements. On March 9th, 2023, okay, I already read that part. MPD evidence technician Tim Smaldridge was also present. I photographed the items, processed and packaged the items. The following was collected: turn signal and wiper activator from the steering column, gear shift and boot from the center console. Yeah, just like to check for stuff. But I thought they took the car apart already. I mean, I know it's just March, but I feel like this is stuff that they should have done the second that they got it. I mean, I know that there's other cases, but what other case is as important as this case not to like get things done? The items collected were turned over to E.T. Smallridge. Copies were provided. Okay. Number 186. Gideon Roberts. This is the guy that's double FBI and ISP for the task force. Okay. He reviewed several tips and contacted or attempted contact with several subjects. During this time, Bryan Kohberger was identified as the suspected perpetrator and arrested. The following tips were evaluated. Contact was attempted with the subjects and successful with some. And these are the serial numbers for the tips, I guess. But then there's a separate one right here. I wonder why. And what's in parentheses? Why can't we read the parentheses? And why are these not in chronological order? Why are they everywhere? Okay, you know what? I just got to get those numbers out of my eyeballs because that's just not going to work for me. Wow. So he's talking about how Kohberger was already arrested at this point, but they got this, whoever this 21-year-old dude is, listed as a suspect. And another one. Interesting. Okay. For A, serial numbers 231919. You know what? I'm not going to read all those freaking out of order numbers. Per tip information, multiple reporting parties believed blank and blank should be looked at as possible suspects due to prior online activity. So all of these are about the same two people. That's a lot of tips, bro, about two people. I would love to know who these people are. Okay. I contacted blank by phone. I'm going to assume, based off of sizing, that this is this person. He advised me he was studying abroad in Spain, but was willing to meet with an FBI agent in Spain for an interview. Several days later, I was contacted by blank's mother, who advised me she had spoken with her son and he would be declining to meet for an interview until he returned home in June. Honey. When was this? What date is this? April. You're expecting the freaking FBI to wait months to talk to you? In one of the most high-profile cases in the entire country at the time? You're wild. Many unsuccessful attempts were made to contact blank. During that time, Kohberger was identified. So y'all just didn't bother? Are we literally never going to see an interview with this person? How do you have that many tips about you and another dude? I'm going to assume a dude. How do you have that many tips about you and somebody else and we just not going to even bother? What? Okay, so this other tip, the reporter believed that two brothers from the blank family who were allegedly blank at the University of Idaho should be looked at as possible suspects due to alleged conversations heard at a California campsite after the homicides. What? On February 6, 2023, I contacted blank at the blank regarding the tip information. Blank advised a blank family had been at the resort at the reported time. Blank advised she'd provide the blank family my contact info and pass on my request for contact. On February 28, 2023, I contacted staff at the U of I and inquired about the validity and existence of there being enrolled student brothers from the blank family. At the time of this report, I have not received any information from the University of Idaho. That would be interesting to know more about. Okay. Number 187, we have Spencer Knudsen. I think we've only seen this name once. I think we've only seen this one time so far. This person from District 5 maintained a running report as instructed while assisting Moscow Police Department with the investigation. Lead number 5839. This person, along with Tyler Barrett, conducted a phone interview with blank. Blank stated that he is a next-door neighbor to the victims. Blank stated he was in a slight altercation with a kid named Blank at the Corner Club bar earlier in the spring. Blank provided us with the name of Blank, who was his roommate. The incident can be closed. Okay, something that happened way beforehand. I guess because he was a neighbor. That was really the only reason they needed to talk to him. Lead 5726 on December 2nd, 2022. They both did a phone interview with Blank. Blank stated that during last semester, he had an altercation with Blank at the Corner Club bar. Blank stated that Blank told him he was going to knock him out. Blank stated that Blank was really drunk that night and he had no further contact with him. Okay, so this is two incidents. Two separate people having incidents at the Corner Club. And honestly, and I'm just saying, this size looks the same as this size. Interesting. On December 3rd, 2022, they conducted a phone interview with Blank. Blank stated that she talked to Detective Lake on a Tuesday after the incident happened. Blank stated she called in the tip on Blank, who she went to college with. Blank stated that Blank is violent against women, or they put woman. Blank stated that during a Halloween party in 2020, had her friend's hair pulled by Blank. Blank stated that she has heard Blank talking bad about woman. Blank stated that she has seen Blank fight with other males. Blank stated that in August of 2022, there was a group chat going on, and Blank stated that Maddie and him blank. Blank stated that Blank got mad during the chat and called Maddie a B word. This incident can be closed. Huh? Okay, so you and Maddie what? You and Maddie what? And then you call her a name? Blank stated that Blank got mad during the chat. So this is the girl that's making the report. And this is definitely the same name because it's the same size. I mean, use your imaginations. How does it usually go after you reject a guy? You're beautiful and smart until you say, yeah, I don't want to really talk to you anymore. And then all of a sudden you're a horrible bitch. So that's probably how that one went. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Number 188, Roberts again. April 18th, 2023. Interviewed Blank at the Moscow Police Department regarding his interactions with Kohberger. Kohberger was identified. Blank was identified as a blank, and Kohberger was a teacher's assistant for one of the classes Blank was enrolled in. So just a student at WSU. Following the service of a search warrant on WSU. Okay, yeah, we know about what happened at WSU. Okay. April 18th, 2023 at 3:15. During the first semester of 2022, he was enrolled in Blank criminal justice course, and Kohberger was a TA for the course. He had very few interactions with Kohberger. Kohberger was present the first or second day of the course to introduce himself, but was absent a majority of the time. He only remembered 2 notable interactions with Kohberger. The first time was when he was meeting with blank following an absence due to an unexpected family member's death. During that meeting, Kohberger was in the room but didn't say anything, which he thought was strange. It's not. Why is it strange that you're sitting there having a discussion with most likely your professor about you being absent because of a family member's death, but it's odd that Kohberger isn't saying anything? It's probably not his place to. If you're a TA, you don't have anything to do with anybody's attendance. That's all on the professor to handle stuff. So that doesn't seem strange in my mind. Okay. The second time was during a scheduled Zoom meeting between him, blank, and Kohberger. At the scheduled time, neither blank nor Kohberger were on the call, so he sent an email inquiring if they were still available to meet. A short time later, Kohberger joined the Zoom meeting from blank's office, which he thought was strange. He was able to quickly discern blank and Kohberger were not on good terms with each other, in part by the way blank was telling Kohberger to end the meeting. A short time after the Zoom meeting ended, he received an email from blank advising him he, blank, wasn't upset with his questions, but instead he, oh, I bet you this is Snyder, look the R, had other stuff going on, which he assumed was Kohberger. Okay, so what I'm understanding from this is that since Kohberger is a TA, this is most likely about Snyder. This is probably Professor Snyder right here. What I'm understanding from this is that there was a Zoom meeting supposed to happen with both. I'm going to assume the professor and Kohberger. It didn't happen. Whenever the Zoom meeting opened, it looked as if Kohberger was in the other person's room that was also supposed to be on the meeting. The meeting should have never been turned on because it seemed like Kohberger and this other person were in the middle of a discussion. Okay. That seems to be what's happening here. Okay. I don't know why you would turn on a Zoom meeting whenever you're in there talking about something with somebody else, unless you were like instructed by your professor or whoever the other person is. And it doesn't seem like that's the case, because he was telling him to end the meeting. Okay. He didn't have any other personal firsthand information to provide, but he had heard from several people of issues between blank and Kohberger. However, he was unable to provide any names for follow-up. And again, because they keep leaving this R right here, I'm assuming that it's Snyder. His impression of Kohberger was that Kohberger was standoffish, a bit odd, and just weird. The interview ended at about 3:15. Isn't that whenever you freaking said it started? It is whenever you said it started, but okay. Okay, number 189, Hugh Powell, speaking with someone else that's a student at WSU, stating that Kohberger was her teacher assistant in her blank class, 20-year-old female. Okay, around 2:53, the interview took place. Kohberger was only in class every few weeks and sometimes only for half the class. He never seemed to talk or communicate with any of the students in class. Kohberger would sit in the back of the class near where she would sit. Kohberger always seemed to be staring at her when she would look up. Kohberger graded harshly and gave her a C in the class. She stated, "I don't get C's." There's your entitlement right there. Later, her professor blank changed it to an A, agreeing with her that he graded unfairly. See, we've discussed this already right here. It seems to me that the professor that was like upset about Kohberger grading so say harshly was somebody who just let people kind of like get away with not being up to par, in my opinion. Because again, this goes from both sides. We've had males and females both come out and be like, hey, he liked my work and he made it noted, he noted how he liked my work. And yeah, he didn't like the way that I did anything. And there was always like essays about everything that he didn't like or that what was wrong from both sides. So this right here, like whenever you sit there and you say, I don't get C's, that sort of like tells me a lot. It just does. I'm just saying. Before talking with blank, she emailed Kohberger concerning her grade. She stated his comment was, "Sucks for you. You didn't know what you were doing." Show me. Show me that he was this unprofessional. And I'll say, yeah, that's a tick on the you might need to lose your position board. but prove to me that he was this unprofessional, because everything that I've read so far that he's noted anywhere, that doesn't sound correct. I'm just saying, please produce that, because I would love to be proven wrong on that one. She felt at times Kohberger would intentionally leave the class at the same time and follow her out to her car. Another one. Did you report this? Did you report this? Is it a problem? Did you report this? On March 3rd, 2023, Blank shared screenshots of emails between her and Kohberger. I transferred the screenshots onto a compact disc and turned them over to MPD as evidence. Okay, and again, they don't add anything. I want to see this one where he was an ass. I would love to see where he was this unprofessional. I'm just saying. Like, I understand if he was grading a certain way, but everything again that we've read, he always seems like not writing like this. Sucks for you. I just don't feel like that's something that he would write as a TA. I'm just saying. He could have, but it seems really unprofessional compared to everything else that we've already read. Okay. Number 190. On November 23rd, 2022, who is this? Hugh Powell again. At approximately 10 a.m., Detective O'Hara and Hugh Powell reviewed blank security camera footage in Moscow, Idaho. A tip was received that Kaylee had a stalker on October 14th, 2022. Two males were later identified as the blank, students blank and blank. This is a 26-year-old and a 28-year-old that were apparently found to have been doing all of this stuff. A tip had been received that someone was following her while she was shopping at blank on October 14th. The footage was reviewed. The footage we reviewed was dated October 14th. Wasn't this the Winco incident? Can I fit Winco in here? I think I can. Look at that. Yeah, I think this is the Winco incident. During the review of the video footage, Goncalves was seen entering blank at 7:24 p.m. As she enters, she passes two males, and you can see them stare at her as she walks past them. The two males were later identified as blank and blank. Goncalves walks directly to the alcohol coolers and picks up a case of White Claw. After picking up the White Claw, Goncalves walks to the self-checkout registers. Blank sees blank, stands behind her. Wait, I skipped something. Blank sees Goncalves walk past them and immediately starts to follow Goncalves. While she was checking out at the register, Blank stands back watching her from a distance. Once Goncalves finishes checking out, she leaves the store and walks towards her vehicle, which is parked in the far east parking lot along Farm Road. Blank follows Goncalves to her car, but doesn't make contact with her. He turns and walks back inside and meets up with Blank. So he didn't have the other guy with him, which tells me they weren't trying to kidnap her, or else why would you leave your accomplice inside whenever you probably need his help throwing her in a vehicle? So what I'm going to assume is that maybe he was going to go introduce himself, maybe ask her out. I don't know. But the fact that it wasn't both of them that followed her out to the car makes me believe that maybe something nefarious was not going to happen. I don't know, though, because this seems to be something that they do. And if this is something that these two do all the time, they need to be trespassed off of Winco property and not allowed to be just like standing there staring at people, because it sounds like they do this more than once. Blank and Blank finish their shopping and check out. As they are walking to the exit, they pass the self-checkout registers and both stare at an unknown female checking out in the self-checkout. Blank walks outside and stands next to the pillars in front of Blank as Blank pushes their grocery cart to his vehicle, which is a Blank. Once the unknown female exits Blank and walks past Blank, you can see him start to follow her. She seems to be aware he is following her and does a loop past her vehicle and then walks towards the vehicle she came in. Blank did not appear to make contact with her and continued toward Blank's vehicle. Yeah, you're kind of creepy, bro. I mean, maybe you shouldn't just be following people like that. That's a little bit not okay. On December 1st, 2022, ISP Detective William Adams and I interviewed Blank at his apartment. This is a summary of that interview. He identified his friend as Blank. He and Blank will go grocery shopping at Blank together on Blank after school. At times, Blank will see a girl he wants to talk to and will sometimes follow a girl outside the store and try to talk to her outside. He will do this because he is really shy and doesn't want to be rejected in front of his friends. But he doesn't actually talk. That's like the issue. He's not actually talking. He's just following. He's not saying, hey, and like trying to introduce himself. It's just, he's not saying anything. On December 1st, 2022, the friend must have been interviewed. Blank has been a student at the blank for almost 2 years. Why are we not allowed to see what this is? Okay. Goes grocery shopping with blank every blank after school. I showed blank a clip from security camera footage of him following Kaylee out to her car when she was leaving the blank. Blank agreed that was him following her. Blank followed her out of the store to try to talk with her and get her phone number. He was unaware of who she was, and according to him, he did not talk with her. The reason he followed her outside instead of contacting her inside the store is that he gets embarrassed easily and did not want to be around his peers in case he got turned down. Blank stated that after checking out the same evening, he saw another girl he wanted to talk to that was checking out in the self-checkout line. He waited outside by the pillars in front of blank entrance until she walked out. He approached her and asked if she would like to talk, but she turned him down. Okay, so that one he did speak. Okay. He was unaware of the homicides that occurred until late afternoon on November 13th around 1 p.m. That's not late afternoon. That's literally the very beginning of the afternoon. What do you mean? That is not late afternoon. I know it probably doesn't matter, but it bothers me when it's like incorrect. After he saw an email from the university, blank denied knowing any of the students and had only seen them when a GoFundMe account was sent out to all the blank students. What? Huh? Ooh, I don't know why it just did that squiggly. What GoFundMe account? Blank denied knowing any of the students and had only seen them when a GoFundMe account was sent out to all the blank students. The first GoFundMe that ever came out was the Goncalves' for the PI, wasn't it? That was sent out to all the students? Okay. The night of the homicides, he stated he was in his room as he rarely ever goes anywhere except to the gym and grocery store due to his schedule with school. Blank A? Is this their first initial to their last name? Blank agreed to provide a swab. I donned nitrile gloves and used a sterile swab on the inside of Blank's cheek. I transported the swab to MPD where I turned it over. I made a copy of the interview and sent it to MPD. Yeah, he just seems like he doesn't know how to talk to chicks without being like scared, which is sort of normal for guys that age, I guess. But don't be following people to their cars like that, just out the grocery store that you don't ever know. That's stranger danger. That's stranger danger. Hugh Powell again on number 191. We have 4 left. Holy crap. It's only been over an hour. These have been like really, that's what I said. What GoFundMe? The only one I can think of is the Goncalves' for the PI, because that was the very first one. That's the only one I could think of. That's the only one I could think of. Okay. January 13th, 2022. So now we're after arrest again. Damn, they like really jump around, don't they? When was this date? November 23rd. We're going from November 23rd to January 13th. Holy shit. Okay. Blank was interviewed as a person of interest in a multi-person homicide that occurred in Moscow. On December 11th, 2021, Blank was arrested for unlawful entry by Moscow Police Department when he entered his girlfriend Blank former residence when the current tenant Blank was not. Okay, this is so. The blanks here are making this context impossible. Okay, well, this person broke into his girlfriend's house. Or maybe it was like a house his chick used to live in when the current tenant Blank was not home. Okay, I don't even know. But this guy did something stupid and already, was arrested. Okay, and he's 37. Yeah, they don't get smarter. I promise. They really just don't. On January 13th, 2022 at 11:44 a.m., they interviewed this person. The interview took place inside my vehicle in the parking lot of Blank in Moscow Wow, inside the vehicle. Dash cams? Dash cams? This is a summary of the interview. For complete details, listen to the full audio. Okay. Entered blank former apartment off blank in Moscow when the current tenant blank was not home. The intention was to retrieve a dresser he bought for blank that she had left in the apartment when she moved out. So his ex-girlfriend wasn't even living there anymore. Somebody else lived in the apartment, and he still, instead of just being like, knock, 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 hey, I bought that for my ex. I know that she left it here whenever she moved out, and now that you're in here, but I would really like to have it back. Like, that probably should have been step number one. I'm just saying. Holy shit. Okay. He was drinking at John's Alley Tavern on November 13th, 2022, and stayed until 2 a.m., then drove home blank, where he lives with his father. Went to work at blank later that morning at 9 a.m. Okay. Blank agreed to provide DNA swabs while wearing gloves. I collected one from the inside of his cheek using a cotton swab, placed it into an individual swab box, and placed the swab box inside of an evidence envelope. I marked the relevant collection data on the outside of the envelope. I concluded the interview at approximately 12:03, transferred the swab, all the things. Yeah, you can tell this guy's just a bit impulsive and doesn't think first because, you know, like I said, step number one would have been like, knock, knock, hey, this is going to be crazy, but hear me out. Okay, let's go on to 192. All righty. Jeffrey Talbot. Again, this is something for the defense. On June 8th, 2023, I conducted presumptive testing on multiple items retained from the residence. 2 items tested were positive for blood. Okay. Ann Taylor requested MPD retain multiple items from blank room and spare bedroom located at 1122 King Road. Obviously, this isn't one of the people that lost their lives because their name wouldn't be redacted. So this is coming from either Bethany or Dylan's room. It's hard to tell because Mortensen isn't that long. So they could be putting like Bethany Funk's full last name in there and blocking it out. I don't know. But also the spare bedroom, the one that they use like storage. Okay. Blank was blank of Goncalves, Mogen, Kernodle, and blank at the time of the homicides. Look. No reason for all them blanks. There's just not. On February 2nd, 2023, MPD retained the following items from the residence. A handwritten note. Pink and white colored blanket with red hearts. This is Dylan's room. So they took shit from Dylan's room and the spare bedroom, and at least 2 items had blood on them. Okay, I think this is what everybody had been talking about. Pink and white colored cloth. Black and white colored Vans shoes. Oh, really? Really? Red and white colored shoes, unknown brand. Black and white colored Converse shoes. Black and white colored Adidas short sleeve t-shirt. Green and pink colored coat. Remember this. Because it is, oh man. Okay. Let's talk about this for a minute. I'm waiting for this to come up. Let's talk about this for a second. I think we talked about it a little bit, but now that we're on the document, let's talk about it for a second. If Ariel is still in here, she's probably being like, I knew it, because Dylan has been her number one forever. Okay. This pink and white colored blanket with red hearts was in Dylan's room. Let me see if I still have the photo, because it was the set of the very first pictures that MPD released. Right here. Let me see if I can get this to share correctly. Nope, it's going to make me do it this way. Okay. This right here is Dylan's room. This is the pink blanket with the red hearts. Okay. I don't know from this very specifically exactly where the green and pink jacket was whenever they took it from her or took it from the house. But I'll say this, and I will do a video about this and put it all together whenever I'm done indexing the MPD documents, because this is some of the first things that we were like, huh? Okay. Do you guys remember when we read about how Bethany and Dylan were asking for very specific things back from MPD? One of them on both sides being passports. But on top of that, there was also a small list of things that Dylan wanted, like a black bag, a green and pink jacket, and a couple of other things along with her passport. Now, remember, we get further along down the documents, and then we find out, oh shit, MPD effed up. They've got to get that stuff back from Dylan. So then they have to send Blaker to go pick up stuff, right? Then we go to some documents later on down the line, and we find out that they are having a meeting with Dylan and her mommy and her lawyer. And all of a sudden, she has amnesia over even knowing what they're talking about when it comes to a green and pink jacket. But again, we have a report claiming that she asked for it specifically along with a black bag and a certain pair of shoes and her passport. So all of a sudden, she wants to deny that the shit even is hers. But here it is right here that it's got blood on it. You really think it had blood on it after she gave it back? I highly doubt it. So this is what everybody was talking about when they were saying there was blood on something of Dylan's. There was blood on something of Dylan's. Yeah, that pink and white colored blanket with the hearts was on her damn bed. And she very specifically, according to the MPD reports, asked for this green and pink jacket. And then suddenly had amnesia whenever she was asked about it later on. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. I want to know whose it was. Was it one of the victims? Was it hers? Because that matters too. That matters. I can't believe the stupidity. So this is like, yeah, this is like report number 4 that has something about this green and pink jacket. I'm going to put this on my list. Hold on. I'll have to go back in and find them and put it all together. That's what I want to know. Where's the result? Whose was it? Both girls did. Both girls did. Now, a buddy of mine talks to some people who were around for a couple of things. So take this however you want to take it. So far, everything he's told me has pretty much been on point. What I was told about the passport situation is that Chief Fry originally said, no, you cannot have your passports. Not happening. And that makes sense to me because he was really upset about the university just like letting people go home. Basically saying like everybody that we needed to talk to, they sent off and we had like no say in it because the university just did whatever they wanted to, right? Well, apparently, even though Chief Fry was saying no, the FBI then came in and was like, yeah, no, let them have them. Which I find really interesting, if true. Because they shouldn't have been allowed to have them at all. Like, if they knew that there was a possibility that they were going to, like, be, you know, leaving the country, there's no guarantee that they would come back. I just don't understand the stupidity here. And now things in Dylan's room have blood on them. And even if the pink and green jacket was in the spare bedroom, that pink and white blanket with the hearts on it wasn't. It was right there on top of Dylan's bed. Jesus. Okay. Now we have number 193. 2 left, so because we're stopping at 195. Jeffrey Mooney. Okay. Okay. Mike Mooney facilitated the production of Idaho vehicle registration, statewide electronic ticketing system, and license plate reader data to the Federal Bureau of Investigations. This is same day? No, a couple days later. Okay. On November 27th, 2022, at approximately 4:30, I received an email from ISP Regional Communications Officer Mary Conrad titled ISP Contacts Statewide 2022. The email contained data regarding ISP contacts with Hyundai Elantra cars in 2022. I forwarded the information to FBI analyst Beth Sullins. ISP contacts? What does that mean? What does ISP contacts mean? ISP contacts with Hyundai Elantras. This is November 27th. This is the day that they sent the email. This was Sunday, if I remember correctly in my brain, the way that the email looked like that Payne sent over to them. What does it mean, a contact? I don't think it means contacted. I think it means something different, like people that are in the system, people that are in the Rolodex. Or just in general, they've gotten tickets from ISP. There's reports with ISP's name on them that have white Honda or Hyundai Elantras on the report. They've gotten tickets, anything that's been registered. So anything at all that has anything to do with ISP with Hyundai Elantra cars. I just wish they would have put it a different way. It makes it sound different. Like, it just makes it sound different. Okay. On December 4th, 2022, at approximately 1:08 p.m., at my request, RCO Conrad sent an email titled Plates from Plate Reader System. The email contained data from the LPR located on US 95 at milepost 425 between the dates of 12/4/22 and 12/4. What? Why are we looking at these dates? Why are we only looking on the 4th of December? What good does that do to you? What good is that at all? On December 4th, 2022, at approximately 1:15, at my request, Conrad sent an email titled More Plate Reader Info, November 13th. That is the one that makes sense. The email contained additional NB MICA LPR data between the dates of 12/3/2022 and why? Like this says November 13th, but the dates that they're sending information for is just for the 3rd of December. When are you going to send over stuff for the 13th of November? On December 6, 2022, at 9:50 a.m., I received access to the Idaho SWET data pertaining to all vehicles contacted by participating law enforcement agencies in Idaho. I forwarded the data to FBI analysts Sullins and Tyndall. Okay, but this is still confusing. Why are you not looking at the plate data from 11/13? On December 14th, 2022, at approximately 11:22 a.m., I received a list of 2011 and 2013 Hyundai Elantra cars registered in Idaho from blank at the Idaho Transportation Department. On December 20th, 2022, at approximately 12:14, I forwarded the list to FBI analyst Maria Tyndall. Why? Didn't y'all have Kohberger's name by then? Why did you bother? Why? This is just Idaho, though, too. But I just don't understand, like, why are you not looking at 11/3 here? Why are you only looking? What is the point of this right here? I don't understand. Like, I feel like I'm, like, missing something. Because it says more plate reader info November 13th, but that's not the dates that they're sending over. I'd love to know what else they were looking for, because what's the point of these December dates? That's going to just like bother me now. Okay. Number 194, Darren Gilbertson. Here's time runs. Okay. This is the one a lot of people were talking about that gives a really odd time frame for what they're claiming could have happened here, because it's such a short time frame. And they already should know at this point that that really just doesn't work because of all of the commotion that you can hear on those cameras, the 11-12 camera. And honestly, whatever camera that they're claiming, Molly is being seen pulling into King Road, into the parking area. That camera probably picked up a lot of noise too. So they should already know. They should already know at this point that whatever took place did not take place in 90 seconds or 3.5 minutes. It was a hell of a lot longer than that. We can hear it. We can hear it. So I don't know if they're just like, this is what we could have done because this is what our bodies were physically able to do, or if they're actually taking in like all of the context here. Because if they would have listened to the cameras, they would have already known that that didn't work. Or not that it didn't work, that that's not what happened. Okay. The purpose of the timed runs was to gain an understanding of the approximate time needed to have carried out the murders. I was assigned and worked as the lead investigator for the Idaho State Police in assisting Moscow PD with multiple homicides. Based upon the processing of the crime scene and evidence collected, investigators believe Kohberger drove to the area and parked at the back of the residence. There is a paved parking area directly to the south that overlooks the back of the residence. Kohberger most likely entered the residence through a sliding glass door located on the second level and rear of the residence and then proceeded as follows. But if you can see what Molly is doing, shouldn't you have this as a concrete by now? Why are we doing this? Okay. After entering through the sliding glass door, Kohberger walked through the kitchen area and to a set of stairs that led up to the third floor. No, instantly, I'm calling, no, you're an idiot. There was life happening on the second floor. There was music, there was singing, there were people awake on the second floor in the common area. He could not have gone through the slider on the second floor and then walked across the common area where people were awake and doing things and then got up to the stairs. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Kohberger then went up the stairs to the third floor. At the top of the stairs and directly to the left side is a door, which was Goncalves' bedroom, and to the right is a short hallway that ended into a bathroom and another door to Mogen's bedroom. Most likely, Kohberger checked Goncalves' bedroom, saw it was empty, and then moved into Mogen's bedroom, where we believe both Goncalves and Mogen were asleep in Mogen's bed. Kohberger murdered both of them in the bed. No. She would have been awake, moving around, literally had just turned off the music. Like, apparently, according to the stories, singing, music, dancing, and then, okay, I think I'm going to go off to bed, and instantly up the stairs, screams about somebody being up there, and she runs back down the stairs. So again, he couldn't have passed by her and gotten up on the third floor without her freaking noticing, and she would not have been asleep. If not 5 minutes before anything went stupid, she's singing and dancing around with her dog with the music playing. I'm sorry. How are we putting this in a report? Y'all are so stupid. Actually stupid as shit. Like, actually stupid as shit. It's amazing. Kohberger most likely went back down the stairs, again with the most likely, walked through the second floor living room, and then down the hallway, which ended at Kernodle's bedroom. Based on the evidence, Kernodle was initially attacked just inside the bedroom near the entrance. Kernodle fought the suspect in the bedroom area and was ultimately killed on the floor of the bedroom next to the bed. Chapin, who we believe was asleep, was murdered in the bed. Yeah, because he's just going to lay there, just snoring away in dreamland while his girlfriend is being brutally murdered not 5 feet away from him. Sure. Yeah. No amount of alcohol. Okay. No amount of alcohol. I don't give a shit. Okay. Because if you're already to this point, then you're dead already. All right. No amount of alcohol and you just peacefully go to sleep is going to make you stay asleep with all the screaming and all the noise that would have taken place right then and there, especially within a couple of feet away from you. It's like they're not even trying to use common sense. There's just no freaking way. Kohberger left the bedroom area, walked back down the hallway, passed through the living room kitchen, and exited through the sliding glass door, leaving the door partly open. Kohberger then walked back to his vehicle and drove away from the area. Yeah, your story doesn't work for me, broskies. And how are you going to say, based on the evidence, she was attacked inside the bedroom whenever there's like spots of blood on the half wall, on the stair thingy, and like in other places of the house? No. ISP Detective Jeff Talbot and Corporal Payne, a little short shit. That's who you're trusting to do these runs? No, I'm sorry. Corporal Payne tracked the times for each run. Detective Talbot walked through the residence with me, calling out the number of strikes to simulate the number of wounds to each victim based on autopsy reports. So instead of you physically standing there with a weapon, dressed in whatever outfit you think this person was wearing, with a lifelike dummy, okay, they use them. They create things that are the same height, the same body shape, the same weight, the same everything as the victim, and then they actually do real reenactments. If anybody watched Making a Murderer on Netflix, what's her last name? Zellweger? There's a lot of footage of them taking what they believe to be sized to the victim with red stuff on her hair area and trying to swing her body into the back of the SUV in a certain way to get the spatter to do a certain thing, like what was found. They do it over and over and over and over again to try and reenact the right thing. So you're telling me that instead of getting a knife, dressing up the way that you think the person was dressed, and actually having a dummy to physically do things to, you're just sitting there going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're just counting. How is this an official run to test anything? This is bullshit. This is not accurate. No, this is shit. This is nothing. No. I conducted 2 timed runs, the first being as quick as possible, and the second a slower, deliberate timed run. I think y'all are ignorant, is what I think. During the first trial run, I began at the rear of the residence and came through the sliding glass door. I then quickly moved through the kitchen and up the stairs. I looked into the bedroom to the left and then moved down the hallway into Mogen's bedroom. I simulated the number of strikes that were inflicted upon Mogen and Goncalves. Sure, because doing what happened to her facial structure literally only took 5 seconds. Detective Talbot counted and kept track. Oh, so this is idiot. This is Payne reenacting this ish. He's the one doing all the walking and the running. I be damned. Detective Talbot counted and kept track in an attempt to recreate the movements and motions believed to have occurred based on the evidence collected in autopsy reports. I moved out of the bedroom, down the stairs, through the living room, down the hallway, and into Kernodle's bedroom. Again, with the assistance of Detective Talbot, I simulated the number of strikes that were inflicted upon Kernodle and Chapin. I then exited down the hallway, through the living room, through the kitchen, and out the sliding glass door. Corporal Payne reported a time of approximately 1 minute 30 seconds on the quick as possible timed run. Miss me with your bullshit, Mr. Clean. I believe not. Let's just not even take into consideration the fact that you're cutting through a body, that you're having to go through skin, muscle, you're nicking bones, and on top of that, the person is not still. They're fighting back. This is ignorant. If this is literally how they conducted this, then I feel sorry for any murder, homicide situation that took place in that town beyond the original. Like, obviously, it's a sad situation because those investigations were handled like shit. I cannot believe how pathetically, uneducatingly ridiculous this was done. This is horrible. On the second run, slower and deliberate, I followed the same path throughout the residence, but at a much slower, methodical pace. I again entered through the rear sliding glass door, opening it slowly to make no noise while doing so. I then walked as quietly as I could through the kitchen and up the stairs, attempting to make no noises. I looked into the first bedroom and then slowly moved down the hallway and into Mogen's bedroom. So again, they're going to sit there and be like, he stopped at Kaylee's room. He stopped at Kaylee's room. And Murphy didn't start barking his head off right then and there. Wouldn't like common sense be like, that's why Kaylee's door would have been shut, but it wasn't, right? It wasn't. The dog ended up outside. So if he would have like walked up, or if anybody would have walked up and looked inside Kaylee's room, in order to just avoid the dog problem, wouldn't you have just shut the door? What would have been the point of putting the dog all the way outside if you could just shut the door? This isn't working for me. This just is not working for me. Detective Talbot counted and kept track again as I recreated the movements and motions believed to have occurred inside the bedroom. I exited the bedroom, moved back down the stairs, through the living room, down the hallway, and entered Kernodle's bedroom. The movement to Kernodle's bedroom was slower than the first run, but still somewhat quick. Did y'all knock into the table? Because the table was knocked into at some point, apparently in the kitchen. So did y'all do anything in the kitchen? Mr. making no noise? Because that's not the case. There was noise. There was plenty of noise. The noise was heard by the person in the first floor. We had the table wrong. I had the table wrong. I thought it was the ping pong table. But the way that she's describing it in like the interview that she did, it's the kitchen table. The one that's wooden that we see through a window with all of the stuff that was on the kitchen counter and next to the kitchen sink now like piled on top of it. That's the table that she's actually talking about, it sounds like. So in all of this, nobody is doing anything about the kitchen and the noise that was being made on the table. They're just walking through as if that didn't take place. That seems like a pretty important thing. And what about the firework and the sparkly thingy on the first floor? Are we just going to ignore the first floor altogether? Because that completely takes this out of here from reality as well. So if you're skipping the first floor and you're not doing shit in the kitchen, this is not a time to run for anything but your own imagination. This is them trying to make it fit a narrative without actually paying attention to all the details. This doesn't work. The movement in Kernodle's bedroom was slower than the first run, but still somewhat quick. I again simulated the movements and motions that took place inside Kernodle's bedroom. I then exited back down the hallway, through the living room, through the kitchen, and out the sliding glass door. Corporal Payne reported a time of approximately 2 minutes and 33 seconds. So the 90-second one was Payne, which I find interesting. And the second one that was slower was Talbot. We additionally walked through simulated paths that Kohberger may have possibly taken from the vehicle to the back of the residence. The shortest and most direct path going from the parking lot and moving east to west along the back of the house took approximately 30 seconds. A second path starting at the southern edge of the property and walking a fence line through some trees and moving in a south to north direction towards the back of the house took approximately 1 minute. The times to make the same two paths at a running pace were approximately 6 to 7 seconds for the short path and then 10 to 12 seconds for the longer path. The timed runs revealed that it was possible for Kohberger to have carried out the murders in as few as 2 minutes and 6 seconds, going at a fast pace on the shortest route to the vehicle, or as much as 3 minutes and 45 seconds, going at a much slower pace on the longer route to the vehicle. So then explain how the noises last a hell of a lot longer than that. And I'm not just talking about the barking. I'm talking about all of the noises. And again, they're not doing shit on the first floor, even though there was blood on the handrail. And Bethany swears that she heard and saw something underneath her door. And they're not going into the kitchen where she's claiming she heard something fall up against the table. Shittily done. Shittily done. Okay. 195. Here's the last one for today. Hugh Powell. Okay. Throughout the Moscow homicide investigation, ISP Detective Hugh Powell conducted video evidence recovery from various businesses. All videos were turned over to the digital evidence team located at MPD. On November 20th, 2022, they met with security manager at blank located at blank in the city of Moscow. Digital evidence was downloaded from their security cameras and turned over. They're not giving us any locations. This entire thing is literally the exact same verbatim information, and it just says we gave it to Moscow. Digital evidence was downloaded. We gave it to Moscow. This place located in Moscow, digital evidence from the cameras were downloaded and turned over. Another place, they spoke with the regional manager. They're not giving us the location again, but it's in Moscow. Everything was turned over. Blank at blank, located at blank in Moscow. Digital evidence turned over. Met with blank, located at blank in Moscow. Digital evidence turned over. Same thing here. Night shift manager, or met with the shift manager at blank, located in Moscow. Everything was turned over. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we have 196 through 207. So 11. We have 11 left to go after this. So we'll finish those at a later time. I'm going to get off of here in a minute. We're about to close all this out, and I'll go ahead and put the thumbnail up probably in like an hour or so for whenever I'm going to go live later to watch the episode and do a live reaction review. Again, I can't have it on the screen because they're going to act like big ass babies, even though I'm going to be running my mouth the entire time. You know, they don't like being proven wrong, so they got to strike everybody and be stupid. Or maybe it's not everybody. Maybe it's just me, which is fine. Whatever. I'll be that black sheep. I always have been. That's fine. Stupid losers. Anyway. The green and pink jacket is definitely on the list of something that's going to be coming full circle information, because that's sketchy as hell that there was blood on it. She asked for it. They had to get it back. And then all of a sudden she had amnesia about the jacket in general. But it's definitely like the specific thing that she asked for on that small list. There was like 5 to 7 things on that list. I feel like it was definitely a little black bag, her passport, the certain pair of shoes, a green and black jacket, a green and pink jacket, and then like 3 other things. And it was stuff that was being held at the city garage. And then Blaker is the one who ended up driving over and picking up stuff. And there was like a nightstand that they wanted back, and it wouldn't fit into the car that Blaker was driving. So then I guess it was Dylan's dad, was like, I can break it and make it fit. And Blaker was like, yeah, cool. Go ahead and break the evidence in half and shove it into my car. And that's how that went down. I've never, oh my God, I have never seen something so ridiculous in my entire life. There's not a single piece in this case that does not have some sort of insanity connected to it, which is unnecessary. Like, I just don't understand. I just don't get it. Like, not one thing makes any sense. Even the stuff about Jack and Kaylee is like misconstrued. Now even her moving to Texas is being like, huh? Was she maybe not going to move to Texas? I don't understand. I just don't understand. Some wild stuff. Wild, wild, wild. Oh, I missed some couple things. Thanks for the 2, Andy. I agree. I just lost my girlfriend June 19th to booze. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you for the 5, Amanda. Jules and all. No mods. No mods. Just me. I kicked Nightbot out of here because he sucks. Sorry I'm late. Thank you for all you do. Does anyone know if they'll release the PA search seizure Capcom footage? Probably not. Because this whole time they've been pretending like it doesn't exist. Which I doubt. There's no way that you have something so high profile and like your body cams are off. Now we know that there's drone footage because Payne said in the closed session back in, yeah. Or is it? I just synced it. That. We knew that because that's all she ever does. She bitches and complains about everything to do with social media and all of these things. And then she goes to CrimeCon and rubs elbows with all of them that she's complaining about all the time. which is insane to me. Now, I do know that the dude at Othram came out and did an interview. I think it was with his wife. Like on the 5th, I think it came out. I have it clipped. We're going to discuss it because I also have, I'll even show you right now. I have these damn papers up there right now. We're going to discuss it because he's talking about the touch DNA not being touch DNA and not understanding why it's being called that because it was substantially more. I don't know how true that is because both sides have called it that. And I went through and I grabbed like all of the information from Riley Nowlin when it came to everything that they discussed here. So I'm going to go in and put something together so that we can talk about it, but it's definitely on the list. I already had all these documents up and ready to go. Both sides called it that. So if it's not touch DNA and we've been misled this entire time to believe that it's touch DNA, yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem for me. But again, I don't know why both sides would call it that if it wasn't that. You'd think that the state would be out here like pounding down, nah, it wasn't touch DNA. It was actually considered this, and this is why, and this is the actual amount. And we do have an amount in the documents, one of the 4 that I just showed you, it's in there. But I don't understand why the state would just like allow the whole world to believe that it was touch DNA if it wasn't, if it was actually something substantially larger. I don't understand why they would allow that. But then again, look at everything else that they've allowed here. Okay. But then again, I don't really know how they got like their information. Everything about Othram is also something really misconstrued because like you'll notice in the clip, they mention how like people flew down right before Thanksgiving. But again, and go look yourself because it's still there publicly available. The closed sessions from January has the forensic scientist speaking to Ann Taylor, and he says him and the Boise cop drove down there, and that the Boise cop is the one who held on to the DNA the whole time. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't the forensic scientist be the one holding the sciencey item? Why is this Boise cop? And why is it a Boise cop? Like, what is happening here? So we've heard flying down, but then in court, it's on record. He said that they drove. So that's confusing too. This is true too. They did expand it, but Othram had it before the FBI did everything that Lisa Larkin said that they did, because that came from Lisa Larkin in court, that it was a certain text thing. And then whenever the FBI got it, it was like substantially larger. And she's like, there's no way in hell that it went from that to that. That doesn't make sense. And this is somebody who does this for a living that's claiming that that doesn't make any sense. What I really want to know is what was done to it before it got sent to Othram, and if it's actually true or not that they originally didn't find anything. Because they had an article that came out stating that they originally didn't find anything on the sheath. Now, I think that it was mentioned again in court, but I can't remember. Like, I'm not picturing it in my brain the way I normally can when I'm like remembering what was said. Something is telling me that it was also stated somewhere official that they didn't find anything at first, but I don't remember exactly where it was or if that's valid. So don't take my word on that one, because I'm 50-50 on that, because I'm not seeing it in my mind's eye, in my brain. But I do know that articles came out claiming they originally didn't find anything on it, which I don't really quite understand, considering the fact that there were other DNA on the back end, like on the back of the knife sheath. So for them to just be like, oh, we didn't find anything at all, doesn't really make a lot of sense. So we really need like the truth here about everything, because everything about the knife sheath it's been a lie. It's been a complete lie, down to when the officer that they're claiming that found it actually showed up at the crime scene. And why are we lying about that? Why are we lying about that? I just don't understand the lies. Like, if Kohberger really is the guy, y'all did no justice to this case. You're making it sound like y'all really have no idea what you're doing. But considering the fact that like FBI and all these other people came in when it came to like location information and all those other things, and they still are standing up and being like, we can't put him in direct contact with the house. How am I supposed to believe the way that this is going? I've yet to find anything to make me actually move that needle all the way. Why lie about something so easy? The strength of your case is based on a lie. You're not supposed to be able to lie about like anything. And again, I don't know why that wouldn't instantly like cause a problem with the probable cause orders, considering that it starts off with a lie about what time Payne and Blaker got there, when they walked through, what they were doing. Why is that allowed to just hold? I don't understand. This is why my degree sits there, because I could never be involved in a department that was this shady and stupid. I would lose my mind. I'd fight somebody. I just know. I told my kids that before. Somebody that would come to like try to see if I would be shady, I'd have to fight them. I'd go to jail. I would lose my job and go to jail on the same day. There's too much shit here. Okay, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get off of here now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me so far, reading these documents. Again, we only have like 11 left. So we'll go live tomorrow. As long as nothing new happens tomorrow, then tomorrow evening will be the last 11 Idaho State Police documents. But fingers crossed we get more information, because I'm still waiting on something and I'm just not finding it. This is absolutely wild. Again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the super chats and the super stickers. Y'all have a great couple of hours before I come back on here. Author says there were so many sources of DNA on the sheath. So many sources of which DNA, though? Like the one that they ran with? Or did they also run DNA on the other DNA? You know what I mean? Did they also run sequencing on the other DNA on the knife sheath? Because we do know there was other DNA on the sheath itself. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, we'll be watching that later on tonight. I'll put the thumbnail up here soon so you guys can see what time. I got to go cook dinner, do some stuff. And then we'll figure out what time we're going to be going over that episode. Let me go ahead and run this out real quick. Please do not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. All right, you guys. See y'all.